Hello, everybody.
Oh, we're on.
We're on.
Hello.
Hello. So last week I had the experience of meeting a psychic. I don't know if you've met a psychic before, but I did meet a psychic, and it was somebody who I would say has genuine ability because of the fact that they gave me some very detailed information, it wasn't like, do you have a great grandfather on the other side? It was detail, which made me realise this person had some ability.
What's amazing is you didn't pay for it. You were just out and he walked over, compelled, and said,
Yeah.
I have some things. They're on the other side and they've got some things they need me to tell you.
So it was quite fascinating. A fairly accurate things that he has said have already become true, and so hopefully the rest of it will become true. But one thing he did say was that I needed to improve my method of communication and to be clearer, and that ultimately we'd be okay if I was a good communicator, and that I wasn't always brilliant at communication in terms of, I think with words, writing words, I'm on it, but in terms of communicating using your voice, not so hot. However,
I have to agree.
Yeah.
You have a certain, you have a way with you that will give you an aspect of the information that you're requiring in a conversation, but sort of there's a sort of an assumption that you'll get the rest on your own, or just a little absence of detail sometimes.
Yeah.
And when we're communicating, and I have to then go in again and go, do you mean this or that, or what if you mean, and then what, and how, and why? So I end up sort of working quite hard to sort of squeeze the information out of him, the extra detail that makes all the difference, doesn't it? You know, because without the detail, you're still left wondering, well, what exactly do you mean? So I'm delighted that this psychic kind of pointed that up. So yeah, he said we'd be all right as long as he stepped up.
Oh, this is funny, isn't it? Discussing this type of thing.
But is it not true? Do you recognise that about yourself?
Yeah.
And part of it is that he's onto the next thing. He thinks, I'll shorten this, I'll give you this little snippet, and then I can get off to the next thing, whatever is going on in that list inside his head. And he's off to the next thing. And I'm going, whoa. Wait on there a minute. I'm sure there's more information you haven't imparted. You know, like what time and where and how. Some key things. And you're just like, I just need to give you this bit, and now I'm off doing this bit. And it's a bit...
I think one of the things is to be present when you're communicating, so that you give the person the full information, and then you can move on. And also learning that sometimes the things in your head should stay in your head and don't need to be things that are spoken about, because there's no point to it. You're just musing on something. And when you finish musing and you have a conclusion or something to say, you could say that rather than floating something into the ether and without forming the full thought behind it. That happens a lot.
There is that, and that's definitely something to be considered. But I think sometimes, because it's in your head, you think you've said it. I think because you have all the information, you think you've already you've said it.
Presuming that someone else is already with you where you are in your head. That is definitely true about communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite interesting.
Yeah, but you do. I think you do have a thing to, and it takes that extra bit of effort, doesn't it, to go full hog on a communication. Particularly with children. I always used to with our daughter, to go that full explanation. Actually, a friend of ours we saw last weekend has just had a new baby and asked, how do you teach a child patience? And I thought, well, the only thing I could come up with is that if you communicate with the child, in absolute detail, that they will, get sidetracked because they'll be trying to work it out, what on earth you're talking about, but they will understand more deeply why they shouldn't do that, or you know how something works. So
Yeah.
you know, all children ask why, and it can be irritating, and it can be quite hard to find that extra bit of information to explain why not, you know, why you can't have
So
that
it's about-
chocolate bar
it's
rather
energy.
than just, you know, just because I say so. Obviously, that's a really old-fashioned way of bringing up children and doesn't get good results at all. But all that's about communication, isn't it? Bringing up our future generations is it's really important
I
to
think-
communicate detail.
That's about having the energy and time to say why mum or why mum.
Making
It's
the energy,
exhausting, isn't it,
choosing it. I mean, you've got to choose it. Parenting is exhausting. If you're doing it well, it is.
But
That's what's required.
I suppose communication can be exhausting too, whether you're with a child or
When you're
whoever.
talking to your wife,
or whoever. Just it's about going.
do I exhaust you, Danny?
No, but it's about going the extra mile to communicate what you're feeling or thinking, or just the detail of what's going on,
Yeah.
and that does take energy. I think this is not an excuse. I'm just saying that as someone who's partial to a daydream and has a lot of music going on in one's head, you know that's not a valid excuse to not communicate. Just because that's happening and it's the way you are doesn't mean that you should just other people should accept that you've got a song going on. Sorry, you've got to, you know, and that's been a big thing for me to learn to communicate properly.
I think it's quite cool that this complete stranger walks up to you and is able to
Well,
highlight something that actually is.
Yeah, and especially when it's
The truth.
surrounded by detail, which was like, okay, this person is very, very informed.
Got really spot on
Ridiculous.
with some really, you know,
Yeah.
with some stuff really,
Have you ever met a
which we're not
psychic?
going to talk about. I don't think I have. Have I? No, I can't believe I haven't. But
I've met, well, this one person and someone else back when I was at art college told me something which definitely came about. So they're out there. I mean, you've got to be very careful, and a lot of it is a bit not
Woo-woo.
necessarily. Well, maybe just a bit. You know, like I said, though, I'm getting a great grandparent on the other side.
I'd
You've got
like
a
to have
brother.
those skills. I'd like
Psychic
to.
skills.
Well, just to have that level of insight about people, and
But
just
we
be
s-
able to go up to people and go, "They've just told me that guy you're going out with, you should really give it a miss. You should go and
It's a difficult thing. Though,
go
so
elsewhere
If you
or
have
whatever.
those abilities,
Help people.
But if you have those abilities,
Yeah,
I'm not sure necessarily.
people would welcome it.
No, but also there's free will. And so if you choose to stay with someone who might not be great for you, but you
That's
learn
true.
from that process, someone who's a psychic going, you want to skip that, you won't go through anything to develop as a character. So I think the genuine ones are probably quite
There's
wary
probably a
of that.
code, isn't there,
I
of
think it's-
non-interference.
Yeah, I would say so. Otherwise, you know,
Anyway, we're glad this guy did. He's apparently lots of really great things are going to happen. So we're holding on to that.
hold on.
Anyway, so that's us, is it, for
I
this
think that's
week?
probably is. Communicate well and have a little think if you struggle with communicating, or
Detail.
breathe, take the time, and just try to articulate what it is you need to say. That's some good something that I've had to focus on and learnt, and it's become a hot topic this week. So there we go. Enjoy your weekend.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.